Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. One of the most common queries that we get at Kriya from customers is about stress-related hair fall. Now, the kind of stress that these customers are talking about is the general, non-specific stress that's there in the background of our lives due to life stage, which could be like the arrival of a baby, due to high stress at a project in office, due to long commutes, or a sudden change in city. And now, of course, from 2020 onwards, there's a general overall anxiety in the air due to the COVID pandemic. Now, in a situation of constant, steady background, low-level stress, which is there in many of our lives, inevitably due to life stage, what happens is that we already are in a state of stress, so we don't eat the most nutritious, well-balanced foods that we are supposed to eat. And in such a situation, the body conserves its nutrition for the core functions, and peripheral systems like the skin and hair are the ones to get affected first. So when you're in a state of stress, you will notice that skin looks dull, lifeless, it doesn't have luster. The hair fall is high, hair breakage is high, the growth of new hair is very poor. So these are clear indications that there is stress in your life. And luckily for us, in Ayurveda, there are a number of techniques that are very easy to use, easy to apply by everyone, and have a wide range of benefits for us that can help us combat the stress and also help us combat the hair fall that usually occurs when we are in a constant state of stress. Now, if you thought that stress was a modern phenomenon, think again, because for a very long time, from time immemorial, the Ayurvedic texts, the Ayurvedic acharyas have identified that life can be stressful for us at various points in time. And there are a number of things that we need to do in the design of our life so that we can eliminate stress. So take for example this shloka from the Charaka Samhita, which is a 5,000-year-old text, where the Acharya talks about selection of the right job for a person. I read the shloka. Vrityupaya niveshevet ye syu dharmar virodhinaha shamam adhyayanam chaiva sukhameva samashtute. The meaning of this shloka is that one should adopt only such means of livelihood which do not clash with the path of virtue. One should follow the path of peace and constantly engage in studies, adhyayana, which is also spiritual studies of texts. And through this right selection of the job and lifestyle, one can attain happiness. So, Ayurvedic texts have always identified that there are going to be various kinds of stressors in our life, and they've given us a number of techniques that we can adopt in our daily lifestyle, our dinacharya, to combat these stresses. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about 6 such techniques from Ayurveda, which we have followed ourselves at Kriya, which we have recommended to hundreds and hundreds of customers over the last few years, and they have got excellent results. So we are going to go over these 6 techniques, and we hope that you will also find the time to apply them in your life, combat stress, and therefore combat the stress-related hair fall that can occur. So the first technique from classical Ayurvedic references to combat stress-related hair fall actually starts at the bottom of our body, at our feet. The technique that we are talking about is Pada Abhyanga, which is the daily regular application of an Abhyanga oil on the soles of the foot from the ankle and below. Now, this is a very, very simple technique which the Ayurvedic text mentioned should be part of your dinacharya, which means you should be applying it daily. It's best done at night. Now, even though this is a very simple technique that all of us can follow, the benefits are very, very profound. In fact, in the Charaka Samhita, the Acharya mentions 14 very important benefits of daily application of oil on the soles of the foot. Now, one of the very important things is when you choose the right Abhyanga oil to do this Pada Abhyanga every day, is that it reduces, the Vata aggravation in your body which occurs due to stress. It also sharply brings down the fatigue in our body, which is why it's best done at night. It promotes sound sleep, and therefore what happens is by balancing the stress and reducing the aggravation of Vata, over a period of time when it's done well, it keeps the stress under control, and therefore it controls a stress-related hair fall. And one of the most wonderful benefits of a Pada Abhyanga is because the optic nerves are connected to the soles of our feet. By daily massaging of the feet with a good Abhyanga oil, it strengthens the optic nerve and it really strengthens our eyesight, which is a huge bonus of Pada Abhyanga considering the amount of screen time that all of us have today, a number of staring at very sharply glaring electronic screens late into the night, which is very, very harmful for our eyes in the long run, right? So Pada Abhyanga is technique number 1, which is very good to combat stress overall when done daily, and therefore it counters stress related hair fall. Now, technique number 2 from the classical Ayurvedic text to combat stress related hair fall is obviously application of a good oil on the head daily. Now, notice this very important distinction that the Ayurvedic acharyas make. It is not the application of a hair oil, it's the application of a head oil. Now, the reason for making this very important distinction is that there are a number of benefits if head oiling is a part of your daily dinacharya, and you should use a good Ayurvedic hair oil for this purpose. Now, in the Charaka Samhita, the Acharya mentions 12 distinct, very important benefits of applying an oil on your head daily. Of course, a number of these benefits are related to having thick, long, black, well-rooted, strong hairs and good hair growth, of course. But the other important benefits are that it clears the sense organs of the face, makes the face cheerful, it promotes good sleep, and it improves happiness. So you see, the application of a regular head oil, daily reduces stress, promotes good sleep, increases cheerfulness and happiness, and of course in the long run it also helps combat many of the hair fall related issues. Now at Kriya we have 2 products specifically for stress based application, this is apart from the hair oil that you choose based on your hair type, or if there is a specific problem like color damage or dandruff. Now these 2 products are called the Harmony hair oil and the Shema hair oil. Now you can use the Kriya Harmony hair oil if there is Pitta dosha related stress. Now, for a person with Pitta dosha aggravation, related hair fall, what happens? One of the clear indications is that this kind of person is able to fall asleep easily at night, but wakes up very quickly or wakes up often. So this is typically the kind of stress that's associated with Pitta aggravation and the related hair fall. So such a person could use the Kriya Harmony hair oil in addition to the hair oil that they may use for a specific hair type. Now in 2020, we launched another product called the Kriya Shema hair oil. Now this hair oil fortified with Brahmi is for people who have the Vata dosha aggravation kind of stress. Now for a person with very high Vata aggravation, the indication is that this person finds it very, very hard to go to sleep. So if they hit the bed at night, they may take an hour or 2 to actually go to fall asleep. So for this kind of person, in addition to the regular hair oil that they are using for their hair type, they could also add some amount of the Shema hair oil into their dinacharya to combat stress and therefore the stress related hair fall. So that's technique number 2, which is the daily application of a head oil, an Ayurvedic head oil on your head daily to combat stress and therefore stress related hair fall. The third technique to combat stress and stress related hair fall from the Ayurvedic text is Abhyanga Snana. Now the Abhyanga Snana is nothing but a vigorous self oil massage from head to toe using an appropriate Ayurvedic oil. Now this should be part of your dinacharya, which means it should be done as often as possible, at least once or twice a week. Now the Ayurvedic acharyas have placed huge store by this very, very important technique because it has so many profound health benefits when practiced over many years in our life. And what the acharyas have said in the text is that the one who practices Abhyanga regularly has a very strong body, is able to withstand strenuous work, is able to withstand the onslaught of injuries, and it promotes good sleep, it relieves fatigue, it improves digestion, and very importantly, Acharya Charaka also in his text says that the one who practices Abhyanga Snana regularly is also able to delay the onset of aging. Now this is such a profound technique that we could write books about it and speak for hours and hours about it. But suffice to say in this video that you should all be considering doing a regular Abhyanga Snana if you've not started, and if you're already doing an Abhyanga, please continue to do so. We have a number of blog posts, some videos and some ebooks on the Kriya website on how to get started with Abhyanga, the do's and don'ts on the day of Abhyanga, because it's a very powerful therapeutic technique. There are some do's and some don'ts, so please do read all the guidelines carefully on how to do the Abhyanga correctly. And we also have a couple of excellent products called the Intense Abhyanga Oil and the Kriya Classic Abhyanga Oil, which you can choose based on the need for Abhyanga. And what this does in times of stress and in other times is it really builds the strength of our body. It gives us the capacity to do more hard work, and as the Acharya said, it's also anti-aging. Now, with specific to hair fall, hair is the Upadhatu, or you could say an end product of Asthidhatu, which are the bones. Now, by the regular application of oil all over the body during your Abhyanga Snana, what happens is that over time the oil seeps into the bones at a very deep level and it strengthens the Asthidhatu. Now, when this happens, automatically the Upadhatu, which is the final product of Asthidhatu, the hair, becomes also strong. So, therefore, if you were wondering what has application of oil on the body got to do with hair fall, this is the root. But obviously, these effects are felt over a period of time. Once you practice Abhyanga Snana regularly for weeks, months, and then years. So, Abhyanga Snana is the third very, very important technique from classical Ayurvedic texts to combat stress and stress-related hair fall. Now, the fourth important technique from classical Ayurvedic references to combat stress-related hair fall is masking. Now, in Ayurveda, a mask is called a lepa, and it could be of two types for the purpose of this discussion, which is a hair lepa or a hair mask, or a face lepa or a face mask. Now, what does masking do? When you apply a Kriya hair mask, what happens is that it balances the doshas at the level of the scalp. More importantly, it also cleans the shrotas, or the fine channels on the scalp, which could have been clogged due to use of various synthetic products and due to accumulation of dirt, etc. And by opening up the shrotas, it allows the scalp to receive nutrition further from the hair oil that you would be applying regularly. So when you use one of the many hair masks that we have at Kriya based on the dosha type and hair type, etc., and the other requirements which are there, you are able to allow the scalp to absorb nutrition better and also balances and soothes scalp level doshas. Now, the other type of masking which is also indirectly related to hair fall is the application of a Kriya face lepa. Now, a face lepa which is applied in this region, what it does is it releases the overall stress in this region above the neck. Particularly, it relieves the stress in the eyes and balances pitta. And of course, it has many benefits, for the face as well. But by reducing stress overall in this region above the neck by the application of a face lepa, it also helps in combating stress-related hair fall in the long run. So you should be generally using a face lepa and a head lepa at least once a week. It is a very, very relaxing and mindful technique because you have to just sit in one place after the application of the lepa paste and do pretty much nothing else, not even look at your phones for that time, and just ponder over the mysteries of life. And in doing so, you reduce stress, you balance doshas, and you clean these shrotas, you unclog these fine channels and help your face and your scalp absorb more nutrition in the future. So technique number 4 is lepai. The next technique to reduce stress and stress-related hair fall is digital detox. Now, the Ayurvedic texts tell us that when there is disorder and chaos in our life, it creates an imbalance in Vata. There is Vata dosha aggravation, and in turn there is stress. Now, how do you control this kind of dosha aggravation? Is by imposing order and method in our life. Now, what happens is that digital detox means that we are on the internet and checking our phones at all times of day and night. Therefore, there is already chaos. But the very nature of screens and electronic devices and the internet, that it's very agitating. So this is a double whammy in terms of Vata dosha aggravation. So what we should do is have a fixed internet switch off time daily. A point, let's say 10 p.m. at night, beyond which we'll completely switch off the internet and be off devices and go completely into, let's say, reading physical books, etc. Now, when we have this kind of order and schedule in our life, it automatically reduces chaos, brings in harmony, and reduces Vata dosha aggravation, and in turn it reduces stress. Now, the additional point to this is on weekends, on a Sunday, you could have something like a digital detox where, let us say, for a period of 8 hours or 12 hours in the daytime, you'll be completely off the internet and do a longer digital detox than on the weekdays. So when you do this digital detox, it reduces Vata dosha aggravation and therefore stress on so many levels. And in turn, of course, apart from the many benefits that it will give you, is it will reduce the stress-related hair fall. So do strongly consider a digital detox with having a fixed electronic cutoff time daily and a once a week digital fast. Now, technique number 6 to help you combat stress and stress-related hair fall is upping your spiritual quotient. Now, when I say spiritual quotient, I don't mean some vague, fussy, catch-all term. I'm not talking about doing yogasana. I'm not talking about practicing mindfulness. I'm not talking about practicing gratitude. I'm not talking about doing meditation. Although you should do all of these are helpful. When I say upping a spiritual quotient, there are very specific techniques that are there in all of our religious traditions and spiritual traditions. And these are exact techniques, clear paths that help you get to a higher place in life, and therefore bring down the stress, bring down the causes of stress, and help us achieve a state of balance in life. Now, to give one such reference of how to increase your spiritual quotient, I will quote from the classical yoga textbook, the Yoga Sutras of Sage Patanjali. Now, Sage Patanjali in Yoga Sutras 244 and 245 gives us very interesting clues on how to up your spiritual quotient. In 244, he says, Swadhyayad Ishta Devata Samprayogaha, which means Swadhyaya, which is the study, self-study after learning of spiritual textbooks from your tradition, helps to bring you closer to the higher forces of divinity. So when you do Swadhyaya, it helps you bring closer to higher forces that are there, that operate in this universe, whatever you wish to call these higher forces. And this was alluded to also in the beginning of this video by Acharya Charaka and his shloka on designing your life and selecting a job. In 245, Sage Patanjali says, Samadhi Siddhir Ishwara Pranidhanat. Now he says Ishwara Pranidhana, which is reverence to God, the God of your choice, whoever you follow in your tradition, promotes the ability to completely understand any object of choice. Now, what does Swadhyaya do? It brings you closer to the divine. What does Ishwara Pranidhana do? It helps you understand any difficult problem. So when you have these tools at your disposal by upping your spiritual quotient, you are able to solve the mysteries going on in your life and thereby bring order, peace, harmony and joy to your life, reduce stress, and of course reduce the stress related hair fall. So we do hope you will consider such techniques to up your spiritual quotient. So to sum up, in this video we discussed 6 techniques to combat stress and therefore stress related hair fall, which was Pada Abhyanga, which is the regular application of head oil, which is then third is Abhyanga Snana, fourth was Lepaying, which is hair lepa as well as face lepa, fifth was digital detox, and sixth was upping a spiritual quotient. We do hope that these classical time-tested techniques that have worked for so many people will work for you as well. And if you're not doing any of them, please consider doing them now. If you're already doing them, please continue to do so. And thank you for taking the time to watch this video.